أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت. I seek refuge with you from the evil of what I have done. وأبوء لك بنعمتك علي. Where I confess openly on the basis of the blessings you've bestowed upon me. وأبوء بذنبي. And I confess my sins to you. فاغفر لي, forgive me. فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. For surely no one forgives sins except you. And that's one of the great gifts we receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we can't receive from anyone else. And that is our sins being forgiven. So we mentioned that the day is famous for fasting. And just to reiterate, the prophets, alayhim as-salam, peace and blessings of Allah be upon them, fasted this day. And we have textual proof specifically designating Nuh alayhi salam and after him Musa alayhi salam as fasting this day. We know that the Jews used to fast this day and that the Christians also fasted, but we have specific evidence mentioning the Jews fasting it in Medina, that the Quraysh before Islam used to fast the day in Jahiliyyah, and that the Prophet ﷺ fasted this day in Jahiliyyah and fasted this day after Islam. And for 1 year after the Hijrah, the year after the Hijrah, before Ramadan was made incumbent during the second year, many of the scholars, amongst them Abu Hanifa, is of the opinion that it was obligatory to fast the day of Ashura. So fasting is one of the distinctions of this day. Mention the desirability of seeking forgiveness on this day, as this was the day that Adam alayhi salam was forgiven. This day is also famous, as we all know. It's the day that Imam Hussein was martyred. It's the day Hussein was martyred. And this is the day all Muslims should reflect on and should commemorate. Because Al-Hussein was all of our Imams. He wasn't just Imam of the Shia, but he was the Imam of AhleSunna also. And this event took place before the tenets of what will become Shia Islam were codified. So he's all of our Imams, Sunni and Shi'i. So a person who's Sunni Muslim should see no contradiction with the fundamental tenets of Ahle Sunnah by fasting this day. Also, Imam Hussein was from the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we're all taught to love the Prophet's family, Sunni or Shi'i. So the love again of the Prophet's family isn't something specifically for Shi'i, just as the love of the Sahaba shouldn't be something designated strictly for Ahle Sunnah. We should love the people that the Prophet loved, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he loved his family, and he loved his companions. He loved his wives. And again, this brings us all together. We should all, as Muslims, no matter what our orientation, be united on these points. And the beauty of the prophetic teachings is that if we look at the teachings with objectivity, we find that everyone can have a sound justification for what they're doing if what they're doing is consistent with the basic tenets of the faith. So to make an example of this, the verse in the Quran, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا, that rather Allah desires to purify you, purify you of all sins, to purify you of being influenced by shaitan, to purify you of all impurities, O people of the house. to purify you greatly. It's a very rough translation. This verse substantiates the view of the Shia that this verse is specifically referring to Ali, Fatima, Al-Hassan, Wal-Hussein. And the support for their position comes from an unexpected source. What would an unexpected source of support for a view that's held by the Shia come from? What would you think? From hadith, Allah barik fiki. And Imam Tirmidhi relates, Imam Abu Dawood relates, Imam Tabari relates many narrations, at least 10, on various chains of transmission, that the Prophet ﷺ nada Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Aliyan wa Fatimata wal Hasan wal Hussein wa qala ha'ula'i Ahle Bayti. He called, or kama qala sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he called Ali, Fatima, Al-Hassan wal Hussein, and he said, these are the people of my house. And Imam Tabari, as we mentioned, relates that at least 10 narrations, I didn't count them, that this verse was revealed concerning them. So their substantiation comes from the hadith, from Sunnah, from the proofs of Ahle Sunnah. The opinion of the majority of the scholars of Ahle Sunnah is that Ahle Bayt refers to the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the support for the opinion of Ahle Sunnah comes from the Quran. Because this, what we recited, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا, is half of a verse. The first half and the preceding verse were revealed concerning the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, radiyallahu anhum, an as-sahabati ajma'in. So the first part of this verse says, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى وَأَقِمْنَا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَتِينَا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِعْنَا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. So the first part of the verse is addressing the wives of the prophets. Prophet ﷺ, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ, and stay patiently in your homes. Don't go out except for need. So this verse wasn't a proof that the women of the ummah should stay in the house. But there should be decency in our society. The Prophet ﷺ told the men to stay in the house. And we should be cognizant of these so we can look at the fullness of Islamic teaching. So no one can say, look, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. See, Islam wants women to have no role in society, just to stay in the house. The Prophet ﷺ saw a group of his Sahaba hanging out on the side of the street. What did he say? إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْجُلُوسَ عَلَى الطُّرُقَاتِ. Beware of sitting on the sides of the street. Don't hang out here. Stay in your houses unless you have a reason to come out. And then they said, but we have to come out. He said, then give the road its right. Lower your gaze, etc. Command the good, forbid the wrong. So the whole of Islamic teachings have to be looked at. In any case, so that's referring to the wives of the Prophet. وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَا تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. And don't go around lewdly as women used to do before Islam. وَأَقِمْنَا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَتِينَا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَقِمْنَا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَتِينَا الزَّكَاةَ. Establish regular prayer, pay the binding charity, وَأَطِعْنَا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, and obey Allah and His Messenger. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ. And then rather Allah desires to remove from you all sin and all impurities, O people of the house. So this is a continuity.